Hello boys and girls and welcome. I hope you're fired up because this time we'll be covering Python functions with parameters. Don't worry, they are no more complicated than standard functions without parameters. There's just more to it, more fun with it, so shall we say. And I'm just pushing things to the next level and I'm taking you with me. So without further ado, let's flip over to code editor. Let's go. Okay boys and girls, we are back in our editor and now I will show you how simple functions with parameters really are. And by the way, sometimes people say parameters and arguments in the same sentence, basically like it means the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing. Like if you hear me saying arguments and then you hear me saying parameters, it's pretty much the same thing. So you can just roll with it, okay? Okay, let's do it. So I'm gonna start with the keyword def for functions, right? Def for definition, but that's how we create functions. And I can name it, for example, countdown like this. And then I need to name my parameters. So for the sake of this example, we can go with number, which by the way, at this point, this is a positional argument or positional parameter. It means that without this parameter, if we don't give this function the number parameter, it won't run. It just won't. It's a requirement. Yeah. So we got number as a positional argument or positional parameter, and then we can any number of those. We can have 10, we can have 20, we can have 30. It doesn't really matter. It's very unusual for somebody to be creating functions with more than 10 arguments or 10 parameters, but it is possible. It's like Python doesn't care. Python doesn't mind if you create a function with 2 parameters or 50. It's just unusual for somebody to create a function with 50 arguments. Okay, so number, and then I want to show you an example of a optional parameter, which for example we can do with even, and I will do false as a default or automatic value. So that means that if I don't call this function with an even parameter, it will automatically assume that I want false as a value. Okay, and as you know probably already, we need to finish this statement with colon. Hit enter, and now what we want to do is we want to check if we are actually using the even keyword or not. So if not even, if I'm not changing it, what I'm gonna do, I will just simply, I misspelled it here. If not even, that's right. Pardon me. And now what I want to do, I want Python to count down from that number I've given it, and I don't want it to skip any numbers. So I can go with the keyword for, because I want to for loop, right? I want to use for loop. I want to loop through those numbers and just print them out. So for num in range, I need to use the built-in function range, because I want Python to actually create a list of numbers ranging from that number what I've given it. Okay. So I want to start from 0 to number. However, number, if I give it a number like this, it won't give me the number actually I want, because remember, Python and computers, they count from 0. So that means that it would give me a number minus or 1 less than number I'm giving it. So what I need to do to make it correct, I need to just add 1 to it, like this. And the third parameter of this range function, the third parameter is the step. Meaning if I want or I don't want to skip any numbers. For this case, as you can see, if it's not even, that means that I want to include all numbers, odd, even, all. So I will just take it off because I don't need it in this case. But here I will show you something new, probably something you haven't seen before. Okay, I will do square brackets, colon, -1, like this. what this does, it tells Python that that list I've just created, I want to reverse it. I want to basically make it backwards. That's what this tells Python. If I just leave it like this, it will be from 0 to 10 straight. If I give it colon -1 like this, Python understands that I want to reverse the order. I want to make it backwards. Okay. And now I want to do just print it out. Yeah. Print num. There's another thing I want to show you though. Probably something you haven't seen before either. You will learn a lot of things with me, boys and girls. Okay. As you can see, up until now, we have been just printing out things and values just like that. Print and the variable inside. But print statement has a one. I'm aware of this one optional parameter, which is end. And if I give it just an empty string like this, just empty quotes, what I'm saying to Python, I want you to print it out on one line, not one line at a time, like in column. I want it as in one row. Okay, and now since I'm passing even as a false, it will run this block of code, right? But if I pass it true, which I will later, let me just show you. I will be calling it like this: countdown, for example 10, and I can give it even true. So like that, if I call it like this, there's going to be nothing to call. Actually, there's going to be nothing to run because I don't have a block of code for it. Okay, so else, you are aware of this statement already, right? It's a if else conditional statement. So in this case, I want to do pretty much the same thing with one modification, one minor change. Check this out. For num in range, against the same thing, we want to start with 0, then number plus 1, but this time around I want to include the number 2. It's the step, remember? So basically I want it to skip one number. It will, in turn, what it will do, it will print out only the even numbers. And again, what I need to do, I need to reverse the order. Okay, so colon -1 like this, and we can do pretty much the same thing. Print num and just empty string like this, and we can give it a go, right? So Control S to save. We can flip over to our terminal and just run it. And as you can see, indeed, this is what we are getting: 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 0, right? And let me just take this off. Basically, what we are doing here, I'm just giving it the value of 10, but no optional parameters. I'm not giving it the even parameter. So by default, it will assume that I want just false, that I want to give it a false, and it will run this block of code. Let's do it. Control S to save. And as you can see, indeed, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, all the way down to 0. Because I didn't give it any steps. So it just assumed that I want to just go one at a time. I want to go down or decrease the value one at a time. So that's what it did. Sweet, right? Okay, and next I want to show you is how we can work with strings. Yeah. Okay, let me just comment this out. We won't need it for the time being. And let's do function. For example, we can do insert spaces. Insert spaces, and I want string. It takes in string, and as you can see, it is just one parameter, and it's a positional argument. That means that we just can call this function without giving it that positional argument. Colon, and what we want to do, for example, we can create new string and give it just empty quotes like this, like empty string. And what I want this function to do is to add space between those characters. So for example, if I have the word Python, I want this function to add space between letters. So what we do is for character in that string that I'm passing in, what I want to do, I want to change this string. I want to basically add that character plus space, and we can do it like this: new string plus equals character and plus the gap, like this, plus the space. Basically, I just left one space in between those quotes, and then I want to print it out, new string, just like that. Let's call it, shall we? Insert spaces, and we can try, for example, Python is awesome. Alrighty, let's do it. Let's flip over to the terminal. Control S to save. Don't forget to save. And indeed, as you can see, even though here I've got all those letters all together, Python inserted gaps or spaces in between each and every letter. Sweet, awesome, isn't it? One more thing I want to tell you though. Python functions, they don't just print out stuff, print out values, they also return them. And they return them because we want to do some further processing, we want to work with it further along. Okay, let me show you. For example, what I can do, instead of printing out like this, I can return it. Return new string. Sweet. And now I can actually use it like this. For example, further down, I can just create a variable. We can do just a word, like for example like this, or new word. Let's do it. New word. And I call the function insert spaces with Python is awesome. And what it will do, I will pass in this Python is awesome string. It will insert those spaces, assign a new string, and then it will return it. It won't just print it into terminal. This time around, if I run the code, it won't print it into the terminal. It will just basically pass into that new keyword variable over here. Do you remember the boxes of matches? The same concept. I'm just basically opening the box of matches and I'm putting a new value in there. So Control S to save. I will just run it, and this time around, no surprise whatsoever. I'm not getting anything in terminal because I shouldn't be. I'm not printing anything out. I'm returning the value. However, just to prove you that actually I really did return the value from the function, what I can do, I can just print whatever is in new word because it should be there, right? It makes sense. New word. Alrighty. Control S to save and flip over to terminal, and surely enough it is there. This is just to prove you that function can do way more than just to print out strings and numbers. It can actually return value, so you can work with it a little bit later. And I've already mentioned that actually this parameter is a positional argument or positional parameter, and if I don't give it that value, if I don't give it that parameter, actually it won't run. Python will complain. Let me show you. Let me just take this off. Yeah, like that. I will just leave it out. Control S to save, and now I will run it. And as you can see, it does complain. Python complains. Insert space is missing one required positional argument string. So here it comes. If you create a function with a positional argument or positional parameter, you need to actually give it. You need to give it to it because otherwise it will complain.
And now, boys and girls, exercise for you. Create a function called reverse word and give it a positional parameter called word, an optional parameter called reverse, and give it default value of false. If reverse is true, then return reversed word. Otherwise, capitalize the word and return it. Return the value into a variable called new word.
So, how did you do? Have you got the same code as I do? If yes, kudos to you, well done to you, great job.
And here is another exercise for you boys and girls. Can you tell by looking at this function what's wrong with it? Did you spot what's wrong with this code? Can you see how the function name starts with a number? Python doesn't like that. This is incorrect and it is an error. And the next thing is the position of a positional argument and the optional one, right? It's swapped. That's incorrect as well. If you spot it, well done to you. Great job.
Okay, so we are at the end of this video. As you can tell, Python functions with parameters, they are not so complicated. It's actually pretty simple. It just requires a little bit of playing around, a little bit of tweaking, experimenting. Yeah, but it was quite fun, right? So, if you enjoyed this video, just hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Hit the like, and I will see you next time. Bye.